Hey crafty friends, I'm back with a process video for the Hip Kit Club and I hope you are ready because this is a long one. In fact, I'm not 100% sure that I might babble at you the whole time because I might eventually run out of things to talk about, but I decided to leave a lot of the footage in this video so you can kind of see my process, see what I was thinking about, see where my head went, and then we can go on this journey together. So hopefully you have a cup of tea or something, or some water, or if you just want a glass of wine, like I totally support this decision, and let's go on this adventure together. So again, this process was for the Hip Kit Club design team, and I am still using the October kits, and this is for Mixed Media Monday, which is every day of my life, to be perfectly honest. So it's pretty cool to get to make a layout for Mixed Media Monday when I use a ton of mixed media anyway. And our assignment this week was to use the Emerson Lane stamps that came in the Project Life kit. So the Project Life kit is an additional add-on. And in the Project Life kit, they came these really cool Emerson Lane stamps by Heidi Swap. And when I looked at the stamp, the first thing I saw was that label set, and I was like, this would be perfect to make kind of like a tile background. So I went in my main kit stash of all the papers, and I pulled out a bunch of papers, and I was going for like kind of a rainbow. I mean, it's not a true rainbow because there isn't really like a red paper or anything, but I went for as close to a rainbow as possible. And I stamped about 3 of those label stamps on each paper. And so now you'll see all the colors I picked out. And then I fussy cut all the labels out. And I gotta tell you, I thought this was going to take longer than it did, but it took me the same time it took me to watch a Missy Whitten video, and her videos are on average about 15 minutes. So it took me 15 minutes to cut all of these labels out. And so now that I have all the labels cut out, I'm going to actually do the mixed media part of the layout, which was, my assignment. So I pulled out a bunch of stuff that I got in previous color kits. I pulled out the mixed media elements from this color kit. So it came with shimmers in Sunflower, in Pop Art Pink, and in Ride the Tide. And I actually didn't end up using the Ride the Tide. And then I pulled out the Cotton Candy and the Mustard Seed and the Wisteria Lane from last month. And then Well Blew Me Down, which was from 2 months ago, if I'm correct. I think it was from 2 months ago. And then I go from there. And what I'm doing here is an Old Faithful standby. It's the packaging technique. So, you get a bit of plastic packaging from a die cut or a sticker pack or something, any of those like plastic packagings that come on a lot of the major scrapbook supplies. And then you just use it to smush the ink down onto your background. So you'll notice that it looks like I end up covering a lot of my page in paint, but I did that on purpose because my idea was to layer a 6-inch wide piece of paper with all those labels over top. So I wanted to make sure I had enough peeking out of the background. So that's why it looks so big. And in the final layout, which is typical of me, you barely see any of the paints peeking out. You do see the pops of color in some places, which is enough to make me happy. But this is me we're talking about, and I over embellish. And so, yeah, but I do put down a lot of paint. So this first layer, I put down Cotton Candy, Mustard Seed, and Well Blew Me Down. And then I flip the paper and I do the same, motions on the bottom, but I use different colors. So I use the Sunflower, I use the Pop Art Pink, which is this really, really fun shade. It's in the color kit, in the October color kit. So if you did get the October color kit, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's this pink, but it's also coral, and it has gold shimmer in it. So it has this really fun shift to it. It took me a few layers to get some good opacity to it. Like the first time I put it down, it was really sheer, but I was expecting like pink, and I got this really fun coral, which made me really happy because I was like, oh yay, that's kind of like the orange I have. So that made me really excited. So now I'm just, again, still smushing down the paints. I had to put that Pop Art Pink down a few times so it was kind of as color intense as the rest of them. I've noticed that the shimmers in the pots, like the original shimmers, which is what like this Wisteria Lane color is and what the Sunflower is, they're really opaque compared to the sprays, like the Vibes and the actual shimmers. So like this purple went down super intense, and I ended up having to like dab a lot of it up so it wasn't really opaque compared to the other colors. So while you watch me fuss around, I'm going to eventually do some like ink splatters on top of the coordinating colors, which is nothing you haven't seen me do before. I guess I'll talk to you a little bit about the photo I'm scrapping today. So, you probably heard me tell this story before, but I got to meet Tracy, Scrappy Like a Fox, over the summer when she was in Brooklyn. But she was in Brooklyn visiting her best friend, whose name is Katie. She's at Edible on Instagram. And so I got to hang out with the two of them, and it was really, really fun. Like, I was terrified that I was going to be like a third wheel or it was going to be awkward or something. But Katie is a doll. Like, she's super sweet and super fun to hang out with. And so, we went to get ice cream after we had lunch, and Tracy was like, I want to take a photo of the two of you. And normally I like run from the camera. I don't think I'm photogenic at all. So every photo you see me scrapping of myself is a selfie. I don't really let people take pictures of me. But I was like, that's cool. I had ice cream. It was a beautiful day. And so Katie and I got this really, really cute picture in front of the ice cream parlor that we went to after lunch. And so that is the photo that I'm scrapping. It was a cute photo, and a story I really wanted to tell because it was a fun day. I did print the photo in black and white. You'll see it later, just because there was so much color on this page, and that is my default. If I ever get to a layout that has way too much color, I just print it in black and white, and then there's no color, and then I can do whatever I want with the background, which is what I end up doing here. So that's my background done. I kind of set it off to dry so I don't have to fuss with my heat tool, because I knew I had to actually make the, I guess I could call it the focus element of this page. And so this is a 6x12 piece of regular cardstock. I think this is like the Recollections cardstock from Michaels. Nothing special, but I did need a white background to build my layered like brick element, and I didn't want to do it directly on the layout because I wanted to be able to pick it up and move it around, and until I was sure with where I wanted to put it. So I think I ended up using like 5 rows of 5 labels, I think. So if you decide to like recreate this layout, you need about 25 labels. So if you pick like 6 papers and do like 4 of each, I think I had 7 papers. I don't know, I'm failing at math right now, but I had enough to have a rainbow background, and then I had about 25 labels, and that's what I did. So then I just glued them down to the white cardstock, pretty much putting them end to end. I started them all on different, like I didn't start them, I wanted them staggered. English is failing me tonight. But I wanted them staggered. So I didn't start them all like flush with the piece of cardstock. I kind of like, started one a little bit hanging off, and then started one hanging off a little more, and then started the next one hanging off a little less. And then that gives you the kind of brick. I mean, you see what I'm doing. I don't need to explain this to you. But it gives you like that brick effect. So it's, instead of it being like perfect rows, because I'm terrible at stamping and almost as terrible at fussy cutting, so I didn't want it to be perfectly lined up, because then you would see all the imperfections and you would think this was a really easy shape to cut out, but I still managed to like botch a few of them. So it's not actually like a perfectly straight line, and you'll see that in the close-up photos that like it does kind of veer up a little bit, but I'm actually okay with that. I think it looks pretty cool. So there is the photo I was telling you about. That's the photo of Katie and I. And now my background is just about dry. I think I kind of dab up some of that purple paint with the paper towel. I noticed that the original shimmers don't dry as fast, maybe because they're thicker paints, but they don't dry as fast as the ink sprays. So now I have my brick element on my mixed media, and you see that half of my mixed media is already covered up. I probably should have gone a little bit higher with the paints, but it kind of works out. And then I wanted to add a little bit more interest to the background, and I wanted to use that stamp set a little bit more. So there is a square stamp that's just a bunch of polka dots. Yeah, it's like a dot grid. And so I just kind of throw that around the page. Like, no real rhyme or reason. I just wanted a little peak of black popping out behind that brick stamping thing. I'm just going to call it the brick stamping thing. And you can see what I'm talking about, that it's not perfectly straight. Like, the orange comes up a little bit higher than the blue does on the right. And as I'm watching the video, I'm like, I probably could have evened that out a little bit, but I went with it. And the black actually gets covered up a lot because, again, I over embellish, but it still peeks out a little bit where you can see it. So I use my 1/4 inch double-sided tape to stick that down. And now we get to my favorite part, which is adding as much stuff to the page as humanly possible. So I pulled out these whimsical flower pieces. These came in the embellishment kit this month. And I know I said this last time, but I probably need like 3 backups of this because this was my favorite piece. Actually, I don't know if that's true, but this is one of my favorite pieces in the kit. Now you see this photo again? I had to print it out and cut it out again because I got paint on it and the paint wouldn't come off. And this is the story of my life, is that I print my photo and then paint or something gets on it and I have to print my photo again. So this is the same picture. I just had to reprint it because I got paint on it. So for my photo, what I decided to do was first back it on vellum, which you're probably used to seeing me do because I put almost all my photos on vellum. I'm starting to realize that I am a creature of habit when it comes to scrapbooking. I take very few risks. I go to what is comfortable. So I pick one thing that is terrifying, like this black stamping. I'm watching it now and I remember my thinking when I was doing the layout, which is, how am I going to save this? Because it was so stark against the color, and it actually ends up working out. So just bear with me. Let's go on this journey all the way to the end. But vellum is comfortable for me, and I almost always put my photo on vellum. So then I went through the Project Life cards, because since we're using Project Life stamps and I don't do Project Life, I figured the Project Life cards would be a fun layering element. So I pulled out a bunch of colors. There was an orange and like a limey yellow and purple and blue and corally pink, and I layered my photo behind all these papers. And I put them all at like weird like jaunty angles, and then I use my edge distresser to distress every single paper. And so now we have this kind of angular shape. The final paper I did put down perfectly straight so that my overall photo cluster would be straight, but like you'll see in the close-ups, the papers are all at different angles, and then I distressed every paper, and I think it just looks pretty interesting. So now what I'm going to do is take all those flower bits that I pulled out and arrange them around my photo. Now, I did put a lot of them behind the actual photo and in the photo paper cluster, but the other thing I did was tuck them behind the brick layer element, that main element that I have in the page. I did tuck a few of them behind that on the top and the bottom, and it just looks like it's peeking out behind it, and I really like that overall effect. So I'm just pulling out more and more flowers because with me, more is more. And I'm just sticking some down. I put that yellow flower actually on top of the photo, and I tucked some behind different layers of the paper. So I wanted to give this kind of like dimension so that the flower elements aren't all on the same plane, if that makes any sense. So some of them are on the photo, some of them are behind the first layer of paper, some of them are behind the second layer of paper, some of them are behind all the paper layers, and then some of them aren't even on the photo at all. And I think it just makes for a really interesting layout. I mean, it makes for a very busy layout, but I like busy. So now I went back in it and I pulled out some leaves, because what is a flower without leaves behind it? And so I pulled out like some blue leaves, some green leaves, and even some of that like neutrally, that beige color leaf with the metallic, just because there was some metallics already in the flower clusters, and I wanted to find some way to pull that into the layout even more. So then I go with my glue and I glue all the flowers to my photo. I learned this technique from Missy. It makes it very easy to pick your photo cluster up and move it around. I also back the whole thing on foam, which I don't make you watch because it involved lots of cutting intricate little pieces of foam out to put behind all those flower pieces, so everything was on the same level. Then I go in the the Vicky Boutin Field Notes die cut pack that was in the main kit, and there was this black circle that said "Blessed are the curious, for they shall have adventures." And I didn't really care about the phrase as much as the shape. Like, I wanted something that just wasn't a flower, if that makes any sense. There were so many flowers on this layout, and I just wanted something that wasn't a flower. And so I cut that circle in half. Also, it was black, which I thought the photo cluster needed because I had the black of all the stamping. And so I added that. And then I just pulled out a bunch of random embellishments. What you see me fussing with now is the whimsical cardstock stickers. These came in the main kit. I also eventually pull out the sticker book from Whimsical and use some of that. I pull out the Jen Hadfield with pebbles. It was like dimensional circles. They were like wood circles and tags and enamel dots, and I use a bit of that. And then I pull out stuff from my title. So right about now, I think I'm going to stop babbling because I don't know if there's something else I can say. And the rest of the process is pretty self-explanatory. So I'm going to put on music in a little bit, and then you can just watch me finish up the layout. My title for it is Love These Summer Days because why not? I thought it was the perfect title. And I use a mix of pretty much every alpha that came in the kit. I used the Goldenrod chipboard stickers, the Willow Lane gold and white alphabet stickers, and the whimsical tiny foam letters, but the pink side, not the rainbow side, which is what I've been using on every layout. And then I just added a few more bits. I add some chipboard stickers from the Goldenrod sticker pack and finish the layout. So again, I'm just going to put music on and let you finish watching me work. I hope you enjoyed this process. As always, don't forget to check out the Hip Kit Club so you can grab a kit of your own. The November kits will start shipping really soon, but I still think the October kits are in stock. So if you didn't grab this and you still want to, you can totally head to the Hip Kit Club site and grab a kit of your own. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for hanging out with me and listening to me babble. I appreciate you guys so much. And as always, friends, keep it crafty and have the greatest day.